ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the live stream. We are live on I believe TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And I have with me today Prōmyth. Welcome. Welcome, Prōmyth. How are you doing down there?
Hey, man.
He's such a wealth of knowledge. As I have my own Socrates live with me right here. So we're going to be talking about some news and events today, current news and events, mostly surrounding, what's going on in the States, all that stuff. So first thing I've got up on the docket here. I don't know how well this. Well, I'll just expand this video when it goes to play. So the first thing we're going to look at is this lovely little video from the Common Coalition. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't heard of them, please do look for the Common Coalition. You can follow them on all the social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram. Yeah, I think they're on YouTube as well. So yeah, well, of course they're on YouTube. I'm going to show you a video on YouTube from them. So yeah, put that one together fast. So let's take a look at this. Share your thoughts in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you think about this.
My instruction, we don't need the votes. I have so many votes.
We don't need votes. I tell my people, I don't need any votes. We got all the votes we need. I don't need votes. We don't need votes. We got more votes than anybody's ever had. You don't have to vote. Don't worry about voting. The voting, we got plenty of votes.
Telling voters, do not bother to vote for me. It doesn't matter if you do. I don't need your votes. That is a thing that should prick up your ears.
Good evening, America! Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy lives. Thank you, everyone. So listen.
And I think with our little secret, we're going to do really well with the House, right? Our little secret is having a big impact. He and I have a secret. We'll tell you what it is when the race is over.
What's the secret, Donald?
What's the secret?
What's the secret, Mike?
Don't we all want to know?
Is the secret somehow wound up in these numbers I'm seeing that don't make sense?
I think my ballot was part of the burning ballot boxes that were on fire.
Look at this. Somebody drives up to this ballot deposit box, throws something in there, lights it up.
Fishy was going on with this election, and everybody was saying the numbers didn't add up. And they not adding up.
Please go check your ballot status. I just checked mine, and my vote did not count.
I do not go into conspiracy theories or any of that kind of stuff. However, I decided, just out of curiosity, should I go check to see if my ballot is registered or anything? I went on there, checked it. It doesn't have any record of my vote.
Brandy's one of those people.
Last time, he lost the popular vote essentially by almost 8 million. And this time he won the popular by almost 5 million.
We want to get Starlink hooked up because they have no communication whatsoever. And Elon will always come through.
If he loses, man, what?
If he loses, I'm
It does seem that way.
How long do you think my prison sentence is going to be?
Are we going to get audits? Are we going to get recounts? Recounts aren't feasible because of our election laws, but we can have audits. We can have audits in the swing states. Our democracy requires that our voices are heard. That's built into the Constitution. That's the whole point. And if our voices and our votes are not being counted, we should be upset. We should be looking into this. This is a big deal.
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election. and he was put into office because the Russians interfered.
If you live in any of the swing states, I need you guys reaching out to your local and state election officials and say, hey, let's do an audit. Let's verify.
Some might think it is alarmist to be talking this way, but I think we should be preparing to defend against the worst case scenario, that foreign actors will target these outmoded machines and manipulate vote tallies. Given Russia's unprecedented effort to undermine confidence in our election system while attempting to interfere with the outcome of a presidential election, there is no question that the Kremlin is emboldened, along with other state and non-state actors, to try again.
Yes. I guess that's the end of that.
Hey, what is this? An advertisement?
An advertisement. I guess I got to skip this ad. No.
As the state of California.
That is that video, ladies and gentlemen. And now I will go to, yes, us. All right. So I was, I went to respond to you and I was responding on the wrong computer. I've got a phone, I've got a laptop, I've got my
I got a few things open.
and I was like literally, good thing I wasn't like Krusty the Clown in that one episode, like, my viewers, they're all idiots. Yeah, Prōmyth was just noticing that there's a lag. Yeah, there's we're streaming, so there's a lag between when we say stuff and when people see it.
Oh, I didn't mean that. I meant that it was the video was like frozen.
Oh.
And they were talking, but the videos weren't saying
Their
anything.
lips weren't moving.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at least
Also, I don't see the comments on TikTok showing up on the
Oh yeah? So there are comments on TikTok?
Yeah, somebody just said something, said ooh, and
ooh.
Yeah.
You can do better. You can do better, TikTok commenter. All right. So yeah, that's from the Common Coalition. And so let me just see here if I can just replace this with a little something from the Common Coalition. We'll get their report. Hopefully that'll work. What's that looking like? All right. So Common Coalition. The Common Coalition is a it's not a not-for-profit organization. And given that, they can take sides. So they're not nonpartisan, but they're so they can speak quite openly and unabashedly about this particular issue. And the issue that this is looking at is just how valid were the results of the 2024 election. So the Common Coalition looks at the data that's coming out from the analysis being performed by the Election Truth Alliance and Smart Elections, and just kind of speaking unabashedly about it. Whereas this group right here, if it's coming across, let me just see. You can't quite see it. The Election Truth Alliance. I wish I could move things around my screen, but I can't. They're a not-for-profit organization, so they're nonpartisan. They cannot be partisan. So they just give you the data. Here's the data. Here it is. Think what you'll think of it. But the Common Coalition, they can be like, come on, look at this data. What do you think this is? Let's not be silly. So if I can get this nicely on the screen, I will talk about some theories here that will blow your mind. I know it blows mine. All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. Let me see if I can scooch that over a little bit more. Maybe if it's just kind of like this, maybe it'll be good. I don't know. Let's see. It makes me have, you know, it makes me squeeze everything in there. So here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. What we're looking at here is called the drop-off rate. That's what Smart Election calls it, and the Election Truth Alliance calls this right down here. They call it the down-ballot difference. That's it. They call it the down-ballot difference. So what this is looking at for Ohio, both of these are Ohio. This is Ohio 2024, and this is Ohio 2016. So I've got some theories here, ladies and gentlemen, but let me just explain what's going on here, what this down ballot difference is talking about. I'm hoping that this is nicely on the screen. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Now, if we're not getting too many comments, I guess the comments maybe are only coming from YouTube. It's supposed to aggregate them. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw something on YouTube.
I mean, I've tested. These are like Running the Trails is another channel. If you like trail running, ladies and gentlemen, sign up. Subscribe to my Running the Trails account. I mean, I'm not just, you know, one dimension. Neither is Prōmyth. We're not all just about politics. Oh, and I see my camera has done that thing that I told you that it probably would. So yeah. Prōmyth, I'm going to make you nice and big, and I'm going to show everybody your beautiful face while you chat with them about this. If I make myself totally go away, then I fear I'll have trouble getting myself back. But yeah, talk to the good people while I change my battery. Hopefully it's had time. My spare is charged up. All right.
Well, I think that we all know what happened in November. We're just unfortunately not the people who have any control over who looks into it, who bothers to do anything about it. We just talk to each other about it on TikTok. I didn't really see which graphs you had up because I was looking at two different screens, but yeah, the down ballot votes are insane. They acted like hundreds of thousands of people in one state didn't pick a president, but they just voted for all the senators, the representatives, and even superintendents. So a superintendent in North Carolina got more votes than Kamala Harris did, which is insane. It doesn't make any sense. And I feel like I'm upset that Kamala is not doing more with her time than going on book tours. I think that she has a voice that could do plenty more than she's doing. She should be doing this. She should be on doing live streams. I feel like Biden also let us down. He should have done something. A lot of people are saying no. You know, there's something going on in the background. I had somebody that was saying to me before that, you know, we don't know what they're doing in the background. But I feel like Trump has gotten rid of anybody that could, and he's purging the militaries, purging everything that anybody who could do something to stop him. You know, today I watched on PBS a round table of people just kissing his ass, telling him how great he's doing. He's doing a miserable job, and to not see that is to not see reality because you don't want to. It's
totally agree.
The worst president I've ever seen. I've been heavily political for 25 years, and in my lifetime, I've never seen anyone as bad as Donald Trump is. Not even close. And I'm also a student of history, and we've never done this before. What I feel like is that we have a failed state that's been failing since 2016, and we're all just being caught up with it right now.
See, this is my. Oh, all right. I got concerned here because I saw the lag on YouTube, and I was like, "Wait a minute, you're talking, but I can't hear you." This is my concern here. So it's everybody's concern. So in this top graph here, we can see obvious manipulation of the outcome, because what that is saying is in the state of Ohio in 2024, every line, every set of red and blue lines is a different county. There's like an average of 62 counties per state. There's over 3,000 counties in the United States of America. So normally, and you see that bottom graph? That's supposed to be normal, but this is where I'm going to say something that maybe challenges that view. That's supposed to be normal. So under normal circumstances, you'd see a mix of lines above and below the 0% line. But in 2024, every single county, we see more people voting for the Republican presidential candidate than voted for the Senate, the Republican senator. So let's make this very clear, because it took me a while to get onto this as well. What this is looking at, what these lines are looking at, is the difference between the number of votes for the presidential candidate of a certain party and the next person down the ballot for their same party. So people might, I'm sure Republicans look at this graph and go, "Oh man, Trump's killing it." But that's not quite what this is saying. What this is saying is Trump received more votes, and like it's approaching, and you can see this one state here where he got 10% more votes than the Republican senator. So at first you might be thinking, okay, well, whatever. Trump is killing it, man. He's killing it. He's a generational, president. No, we've never seen anything like it. Okay, so beyond that, what we also see is Kamala Harris getting fewer votes than the Democratic senator in every single state. So what this indicates is ballot switching. So the reason why we have all these red lines above this 0% line is quite likely as in there is no other explanation. Mm-hmm. Because the machines somewhere along the line took a fixed amount of votes. This is, if it's ballot switching, that's how it has to be. They took a fixed number of votes away from one candidate. Got my little, can you see that? They took a fixed number of votes away from one candidate. And just actually to demonstrate this, I'm going to remove a few of these votes here. A few of these votes to make it very obvious, to make the point that I want to make very obvious. For now, I'm going to put these extra beads, these things, you drop these things, they're bouncing all over the place, and it's hard to, so I'm going to get rid of these for a second. All right. So what's happening is you take a fixed number of votes away from one candidate, this candidate, and you give them to the other. And this is where I want you to start thinking about math here for a moment. It's not, I hate math. I'm with you. If you hate math, let us know, ladies and gentlemen, in the comments if you hate math. But math can be your friend. in situations like this. So these are percentage differences. That's what we see on this y-axis, percentage differences. So up at the top here, like the upper and lower parameters are 10%. And Trump actually gets 10% more votes than the Republican senator in this one county here. And the lowest drop for Harris is she got more than 5% fewer votes than the Democratic senator in what appears to be the same county. Why does it appear to be the same county? Well, actually, visually, we can see the blue line comes first. They come in sets. So red line, blue line, that's for one county. And you'll see something here, especially with this case, this most extreme case. It's called mirroring. Here, this is what causes mirroring, ladies and gentlemen. Let's say we take a certain amount of votes away from Harris. See that? Away from Harris. We take a certain amount of votes away from Harris. And we give those votes to Trump. So it's hard to do this with the mic, but okay, can you see this? So I'm giving these extra votes to Trump. I mean, we can still see who they were originally counted for. But the machine wouldn't. This is where the math comes in. Let's say Harris had 100 votes and Trump, just for argument's sake, I'm not trying to insult him or whatever, but just for the argument's sake, simple mathematical number. Let's say Trump had 50 votes. Harris had 100. Trump had 50. We took 10 away from Harris and gave them to Trump. Mathematically, on this type of graph, what you're going to see then is Harris would get 10% fewer votes than the senator. That's assuming that I should qualify this with this statement. That's assuming that we start from a baseline where we assume normal is if you vote for a Democratic president, you're probably going to vote for the Democratic senator. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the case, except in general, a presidential candidate usually gets between 1% and 3% more votes than the next person down the ballot from their same party. And that is because some people just go, I'm just here to vote for the president. I don't know any of these other people. I don't have time. I don't know who they are. I'm just voting for the president. They hand in their ballot. So some people don't check off everybody on their ballot. You can do that. It's not against the law or anything. So that tends to lead to a drop-off rate, what Smart Elections calls a drop-off rate of between 1% and 3%. But it would be positive. You see, if we're looking at the difference between the president and the Senate, the senator, then we should see, under normal circumstances, both parties' lines should be 1% to 3% above the line, above 0%. That's normal. That's normal. This is not normal at all. Where one, you can see this is for Trump here. He's receiving far more than the average, in terms of the down ballot drop off. He's receiving more than 5% more in almost every county, 10% more in one county. And then Harris is receiving fewer votes. So what that must mean is someone who voted Democrat probably throughout the rest of their ticket, but we can't really say that for sure because we're only looking at the senator. But in polarized America, what we're asking people to believe here is that somebody voted for a Democratic senator, but then said, yeah, but I like that Trump guy for president. I'll vote Democrat for senator, but I'll vote Trump for president. All right, you can see that. Hey, here and there, an odd case. I could accept that. Just a huge Trump fan. Someone's been a Democrat their whole life. They're voting for the Democratic candidate, but they just love Trump so much they're going to vote for him anyways. but not across the board, ladies and gentlemen. Not every single county more than 5% above the Republican senator. The other way to look at that is you know, they love Trump, they're voting for Trump, but they want a Democratic senator. Do you believe that? I could believe it for 1 or 2, maybe a couple of hundred, maybe a couple of thousand people in all of the United States of America, but not every single county in Ohio. And this is just one graph. You can see the same thing in Texas, Pennsylvania. The more states that are analyzed, we just keep seeing this. We see this,
especially battleground states. It's
especially the swing states and Texas. So this is manipulation. And just talking about the math, I'm going to make I'm in the process of making a video on this, but if I don't know if you can see my little thing switching. Oh no, I guess you can't. I think what I'd have to do, I know what I have to do. I'd have to go here. All right. Now you can probably see my mouse. Right? Can you see my mouse? Well, there's a delay. But I don't know. Can you see my little mouse?
I see it. I see
it. See this really high one here? And we see mirroring here. The highest one, the highest state, or county, I should say, county in Ohio, 10% more votes for Trump than were given to the Republican senator. And by coincidence, Kamala Harris got over 5% fewer votes than the Democratic senator received. In the
so
same
obvious.
county.
That's crazy.
It's so obvious. And this is the math, ladies and gentlemen. If we take 10 votes away from Kamala Harris, and let's say she had 100 votes, then her down ballot drop-off rate, if the senator had the exact same number of votes, would be 10%. Then if you give those same 10 votes from here over to Trump, and if he had 50 votes to begin with, those extra 10 votes are 20% more votes for him. So after you get used to seeing these graphs, I'm just kind of going back to the graph here and highlighting this. When you see a very tall line for the Republican presidential candidate and a tall but nonetheless shorter line for Kamala Harris, what that is telling you is she was killing it in that county. She had a lot more votes than he did. And so a certain absolute number of votes taken away from her caused her down ballot drop off to go down by, let's say, 5%, and caused his to go up by 10%. Because, right, 10 out of 100, let's say, would be 10%. But she, in that case, probably had 200 votes. 200. So we take 10 away from her, it causes her down ballot drop off rate to go negative, but only by 5%. Right? It's all about what is an absolute number as a percentage of a big number versus as a percentage of a smaller number. So that's some of the extra detail that we can see here. Now look again at this graph. You'll see in virtually, I don't know if there's an exception here. At a glance, it looks like every single case, the red line is not only positive, it's taller than the blue line. So mathematically, that means Kamala Harris was killing it in every single county before the voter manipulation. Thoughts
he lost. He definitely he lost.
He lost huge. And according to this, let me see. No, I don't need to. I can just scroll here. It's simple enough. It's basic. It's kind of back of envelope, I'd say, analysis. but it's simple enough to just go, oh, okay, well then what if we just returned all those votes back to baseline? Like, what if we just fixed all of those lines and just said, well, let's take these extra votes that Trump got and give them back to Kamala Harris, right?
Yeah.
Basically, if someone got 10% more votes than their senators, or here's a simpler way of putting it, just what if we said that each presidential candidate got the same number of votes that their senator got for their same party? And is that a ridiculous assumption? I don't think so, because it's a pretty rare case, right? We have to admit.
Yeah,
Like,
a
you're from
human
the United
being
States, so
would vote.
Yeah.
Would vote for their Republican candidate for president and Senate. They wouldn't split it up like that.
No.
Nobody
The
does.
odd
Especially it's so
person.
partisan.
It's so partisan now. It's so, I mean, it's a tinderbox down there, right?
Yeah.
Like you're so this is what the Common Coalition is saying. If you were to restore the votes to where they were before the apparent manipulation, she would have gotten around 67% of the vote. Now that's unheard of, right? I don't think anyone has cracked 60% of the popular vote. Am I wrong? Like, Ronald Reagan got 58.8% of the popular vote.
Yeah.
What did Obama get? Do you happen to know that?
Off the top of my head, I'm not too sure, but it wasn't 58%. It wasn't like 60%.
Like, in terms of like the huge wins in the history of the United States, there's Franklin Roosevelt, there's Ronald Reagan, and I think Obama, I'm not sure if it was his first term or second term. It was pretty good. I think he did pretty well, but I haven't really looked at the numbers there. I've just kind of picked that up going along. But no, I don't think no one's gotten even 60%. But I know I'm more of a progressive individual, and I'm not the biggest fan of Trump, but I could see this. Like, I could see it.
Yeah, Kamala killed him. Everybody
makes
that I talked to, everybody I knew, so many people that never voted before were voting, and they were voting for Kamala. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense with anything. I've been political for a long time, and this was the most popular election I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it doesn't
again,
make sense.
This could just speak to my bias, but I held a party. I'm Canadian. And this was big. This is a big deal to me, in our household and my circle of friends. I don't know off the top of my head. Can I think of, I don't think I know any Trump supporters. I mean, we're in Canada. What does it matter? Like, it's just anecdotal information anyways, but people don't.
I know Trump supporters, and honestly, in this past election, the only people that were still voting for Trump were the people who really didn't know much about politics, and they were just insane. There were a lot of people I knew that did support Trump in like 2016, but changed their mind for 2024. And I mean, I'm sorry, 2020 to 2024. And it doesn't make any sense. I know for a fact, I know that Kamala won this.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. And so then the next question becomes, why didn't Kamala Harris do anything about this? Because you might be thinking, ladies and gentlemen, oh, well, it took them a while to figure out what happened, looking at the data. But this is just a point I raise. I'm not the only one. The United States of America has the largest, most interconnected, most sophisticated intelligence network on the planet.
Yeah.
If someone was even planning to rig the election, they should know about it.
Yeah, there's something wrong. There's something really, really wrong.
So, and especially when, the more you look into this, the more it appears it was, done with the assistance of Russia. And surprise, surprise, that is a core competency of the Russian government, rigging elections.
Yeah.
Vladimir Putin wins every single one by 80%, 80% margin. No matter how horrible things are in Russia, he just keeps winning those elections. So they're very good at it. I'd get more into the data analysis and so on, the thing that's called the Russian tail. There's a very obvious, very clear, laughable sign, fingerprints of ballot stuffing and so on in Russia. So, but they don't care about being detected because who's going to do anything about it? And unfortunately, that's the problem the United States, that's the predicament the United States, I think, finds themselves in. So it's very obvious. I would argue that the National Intelligence Network of agencies heard about it, knew it was going to happen, and didn't do anything. And so that's what everybody's asking about, even folks who are just like Prōmyth and myself, who believe beyond any shadow of a doubt that this election was rigged, then naturally develop the question, well, did the Democrats not know? If they did know, why didn't they do anything about it? So
I can't imagine that they're this naive.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of evidence of this group contacting Kamala Harris and, saying, hey, you got to do a recount. Look what happened. They informed her that the code for these election machines was stolen by Trump supporters. I forget when it was, but they've got it on video even.
Yeah.
So this is the $1 trillion question. Why, if this happened, and we're starting from a basis of, well, yeah, obviously it happened. There's no other way of explaining this data. Now, if it happened, was it detected? And if it was detected, why didn't they do anything? So you want to hear my far out theory? I'll just zoom in on this.
Yes.
I'll zoom off a little bit. Totally far out theory. I'll see if I can zoom in on this. Look at 2016. Given all the stuff I was just nattering on about, I think I can move this a little. I don't know. Maybe I can. I don't know. Can I? I hate having to do this. I don't know. I can't move it more, but you can more or less get the gist. This is 2016. It's used as a more normal example, but given that what I was just kind of going over with this stuff, right, with these things, if you see a tall line and it's mirrored by another tall line, but going in the opposite direction, that is a sign of ballot switching. What do you think, Prōmyth? What do you see?
Yeah, I see looks like some discrepancies. I see it looks exactly like the up and down. I can't really point to it, but
yeah. Right. But compare to, like, this is ridiculous. This is so uniform and so on. But there's a switch. The blues are above the line in 2016, mostly, and the reds are mostly below. And you can see the mirroring again. Like every now and then you see, like, here, look at these. We'll call them the Twin Towers, whatever. They're right. Oh, sorry. I've got to go over here. You see these like twin guys right here, twin guys below them. Got a big tall line down here, big tall line above it.
Yeah.
Pretty big line here, big line below it. There is mirroring, but it's in the favor of the Democrats. I suspect that's why the Democrats didn't do anything. I suspect somebody just, these guys are bold as brass, right? So when I say that, I mean like the Republicans, MAGA, and so on. I think they just laid out the evidence in front of them. Maybe they had, who knows what else they have. Maybe they've got video, maybe they've got recordings, maybe they've got emails.
But if they did it in 2016, she would have won. She lost.
well, yeah, like, yeah, Hillary Clinton. Yeah, no, I get you. I just don't think they did it enough. Like up top here, I'll go out to this one. Here we see very aggressive vote manipulation, extremely aggressive.
It looks,
Here
yeah.
it's kind of like, yeah, here and there. Enough to my mind, though, that what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So if I'm going to call this vote manipulation, I'm just going to call this vote manipulation for the Democrats. And it's just not, but it's not as good. Like they didn't do a good job of it. There were like a few here, a few there. Some little counties were hardly touched. So actually, if I were to, maybe I could zoom in here. I'll try zooming in, and I don't know if I'm going. How do I? Yeah. Maybe there's some other view that I can do here, but there's some places in this. I really must tell you what, I don't know. I'll see if I can quickly do a screenshot and maybe share that picture. I'm taking a chance if I do that, messing things up. But I'll just say there's parts of this. I'll just do this. See these little parts right here? That's normal. That's what normal looks like. Both parties above the line. This is normal here. This is normal here. Normal. Actually, pretty much anywhere where you see both the red and the blue line above the line, right over here, that's normal. That's what you see in a normal election. Both presidential candidates getting a few more, a smidgen more, a few more votes than their senator. Because between 1% and 3% of the people just vote for the president and hand in their ballot. So what we see in 2016, I think, is the Democrats doing the same thing, but they didn't get to all the counties. Some of this is quite aggressive. Again, I don't want to admit this. I don't want to say it, but these axes are just different here, right? This up here, this is 10%, 10%. This doesn't look as bad, but that's because this is 15%. This is 15%, and this is 15%. So we actually have more lines popping above and below 10% here than we have here in 2024. So this is,
I gotta look at these a little more closer. I'm not sure.
This is super aggressive in 2016, but not all counties are touched. Some are left alone, and some are just far more aggressive than others. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's my theory about why Kamala Harris just walked away. I think they're being blackmailed. I think they're saying, look, you guys did this. We just did it better than you. So if you want to rat us out, we'll rat you out. That's I don't know. That's the story that data is telling me.
Yeah, I don't know. Because they both look so completely different. The 2024 looks obviously like it was done by a machine. You know what I mean? Where
it's
2016 is like up and down, up and down.
Yep, it's programmatic. It's algorithmic.
Just looking at 2024 should have made them call for recounts. They should have done something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and yet
someone in the comments said that's exactly like you had 100,000 people who didn't vote for president in like Arizona and Michigan. You have over 100,000 in other counties. That's insane. Who to have that. It happens once in a while. Sometimes people don't vote for president, but it's like less than 1%. This happened at an enormous rate. Hundreds of thousands of people don't do that.
Yeah. And we're just looking at one graph here. I actually, there's, here's another one. This is from Texas, comparing 2020 with 2024. And again, they're saying, I don't know how's this looking on the, yeah, you can more or less get the gist. They're saying, well, the one on the right is normal and the one on the left is abnormal. And clearly the one on the left is abnormal. But I would argue that there is some suspicious looking stuff even in 2020 going on here. We still see the mirroring. It's kind of like they're both playing at it in 2020, but not very well. Like
I think that those precincts are probably much bigger, right? Each one is a precinct, right? Every like two lines is a precinct.
No, this is for all of Texas. And so I think the number is 253. Hey, Alexa, how many counties are in Texas?
Texas is a state in the southern United States. It shares a border with New Mexico, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, as well as Mexico.
All right. Time for Google. How many? I think it's 253. How many counties are in the huge state of Texas? Right? It's the biggest one, right? 254. 254. There's very small writing here, and I can kind of see 253. So yeah, every one of these every set of lines is one county. And then every county has, it could be I don't know, can it be thousands? Not thousands, but hundreds. They could have hundreds of precincts. I mean, that might be a bit much for a county, but like when we look at some other data, well, ladies and gentlemen, I have it on my shirt. Look at that, right? My rigged election shirt. This is from what I should know. Can you read this? What can we see what county this is or what state it is?
Wasn't it Ohio?
I think it's Pennsylvania.
Oh, right. It was
Pennsylvania. Yeah. So this is Pennsylvania. Every dot is a precinct. And this is not all of Pennsylvania. This is one county. And let's see, can I see what county is this? Pennsylvania, Allegheny County, ladies and gentlemen. This is Allegheny County. One county, one in Pennsylvania. Every single dot is, I should say, every set of dots. And you'll see, can I get closer to the camera? You can see that they come in sets. So every set of dots is a precinct. So just eyeballing that, over 100 anyways, I'm sure. Over 100 precincts in a county. So yeah, this is some crazy vote manipulation going on. To my mind, brazen, unapologetic, and unworried about being detected. Not the least.
Well, you got to remember, Christopher Wray was the head of the FBI, and he was put into place by Donald Trump. And those are the people who are supposed to keep our elections safe. So I've always had a problem with what he did. He stepped down in December after the election for no reason. And I feel like he stepped down to tell Trump and Elon there's no investigation happening. I feel like that's what happened. I feel like Trump and Elon were worried about it. And that him being told to step down and then stepping down told them that there's nothing happening. There's nothing to worry about.
Don't worry, nothing's going to happen. Yeah, few people standing up to this guy. But the courts still are. On to our next story. Do you have anything more you'd like to say about this?
No.
For anyone who's watching on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, what I'm looking at here is the Common Coalition report. Do give them a follow. You can follow them. You can find them on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, and on their website, the Common Coalition. They've got a Substack. Give them a follow. I think the value they add to this whole discussion is they just make it easy to understand. Where like you can absolutely follow, and you should follow, Smart Elections, and you should follow the Election Truth Alliance. They're the ones who are actually doing the data analysis.
Yeah.
The neat thing is this is all public data. So if a person wants to say like, oh, that's all made up, like, no, this is just derived from the same data that says Donald Trump won. So if you don't want to believe this, well, then maybe we shouldn't believe that Donald Trump won. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
If you're going to believe the data that says, oh yeah, he got more votes than Kamala Harris, then you have to believe this. It's derived from the exact same data. They're just mathematically looking at different things. Like, hey, here's a neat idea. How about we look at how many votes did Kamala Harris get and compare that to how many votes the Democratic senator got in the same county? Hey, that's a neat idea. Let's do it. They do that, and they create graphs that look like this.
Yeah. In
So
Arizona, drives me crazy to even think about the fact that Carrie Lake lost both of her elections, and she lost to Josh Stein.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh Stein, the Democratic senator, got more votes than Donald Trump did in Arizona, which that doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Kamala would have gotten more votes than the senator who was running.
Yes. Normal circumstances, the president can expect to get 1 to 3% more votes than the senator. So even being generous, erring on the side of caution, if you just give Kamala Harris the same number of votes as a given senator, boom, that's how we come up with that number that says she would have gotten something. I find 66% hard to believe, but something possibly cracking 60%, which would have been the biggest electoral win in the history of the United States. And that's how I was feeling it. The polls were saying it's
won.
tight, but she's ahead. Alan
Lightman,
Lightman.
When they were doing the handover of power, Kamala Harris was walking behind Joe Biden, and she was whispering to him, "This is democracy. This is democracy." So I think that they were just really naive, and they were really in some. You got to imagine that they'd be in some serious bubbles. Their algorithms would be very fixed. They wouldn't really have a pulse on what the everyday people are thinking. So I feel like somebody was telling Kamala that that's what it is. We lost. We got to get past it. Don't question it. Don't start, ruining the party, or I don't know what, but I feel like that's what happened. I feel like that she just thought she knew better than the whacks that were sending information on the letters to her.
Yeah. Well, this is where for the time being we're going to disagree, but I'm the first to admit I don't know. I can't explain this. I don't know why she didn't do anything, why the Democrats didn't do anything. But my suspicion, when I see graphs like I was showing you earlier, that, after I've learned to read these graphs, I see sets of graphs like this. And then I think, wait a minute. Hey, it kind of looks like the Democrats are doing it back.
I don't know. Because I don't know. I got to look a little further into like what the mirroring is, but on the one on the top, there's no blue going into the positive anywhere.
Yep. They did a thorough job. They totally seized control of the entire voting system. But we all have to remind ourselves, normal, and I'll see if I can find some graphs at some point to show us in future live streams and so on. Normal should be just little lines, blue and red, above the line, above 0%, just between 1% and 3%. we see nice examples of it. We see nice examples of it here, right? Where you see the sets, blue and red, sitting side by side. That's not a set, actually. It looks like a set. It's not. Here's a set. This is one county. This is one county. When they're touching, that's one county. I don't know what's going on here. Are we missing some counties? But it looks like a set. This is normal. It should be across the board like that. So seeing these tall boys sticking way up and then mirrored on the bottom, if I'm going to say this is vote switching for the Republicans, then I have to admit that this looks like vote switching perpetrated by the Democrats. And maybe someday the truth will come out, and I'll, someone will look back on this video and go, "Holy crap, that Lightstone guy had it right."
Well, if it's like, I don't know if they would all, because if it goes, what is it? It's 0 to 5%. That's all positive. If they get more votes,
which is what they should get. Every
but if it goes up, like if it goes up to like 5, he got 5% more this time around, then wouldn't that make the other person get, the 5% less? Like wouldn't it correspond?
No, because what normally happens, it would if it's ballot switching. You're right if it's ballot switching.
Well,
and
if it would be
we just
0.
want to accept that ballot switching is just it's just part of the game. But it's what we do, But normal, the 1 to 3% above is largely caused by people just voting for the president and then handing their ballot in. That's what causes that. So some guy, some Republican, for example, just voting for Donald Trump and then handing their ballot in does not take a vote away from Kamala Harris. Right? So that's what normally causes that 1 to 3 positive down ballot difference. Yeah. It should be positive under normal circumstances, 1 to 3% more. But seeing all these negatives is right off the bat a red flag. And when it's mirrored like this, sometimes I forget what, all these negatives is a red flag, huge red flag. And when it's mirrored like this, like we see here, like we see here, like we see here, even over here,
do they have 2024? So are there any 2024 non-battleground states that we have?
I'm sure there are, but they haven't. I haven't seen any. Like the ETA always has more data than we know about because they don't release it right away. They send this stuff off. First they collect, and then they do their analysis, and then they send these data packages to the Secretary of State offices to various states, and they give them a chance to respond. So they're not like, people aren't finding out about it in government at the same time that the public is finding out about it. So they've got more stuff than we know about. But I did ask Nathan Taylor. I had a chance to sit down and chat with him from the Election Truth Alliance. I said, "Hey, are there states that you come across where you don't see this kind of crazy stuff going on?" And he said, "Yeah, we have come across states like that. And they tended to have 3 things in common. One, they tend to just either like avoid using voting machines, or they've changed their voting machines very recently. That was one thing. They changed, there's something with their setup that they changed quite recently. And I forget the other one, but I do have a video on it. And it's called Where Do We See the Red Flags? Which is actually doing pretty well on YouTube right now, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to check it out there, it's doing well there. Nathan Taylor just went over that, like what's the difference between the states that we see these problems in and the states that we don't. And of course, largely it's like, were they a swing state? If they were, then they're like rigged good. They rigged them good. There's like this. It's crazy. Even though I don't forgive my ignorance, I don't believe Ohio is a swing state. I know they change. They change from election to election. I don't know if Ohio was a swing state
I think it was.
Was it?
I don't know.
I'm gonna sound pretty
It was like
silly.
7 swing states.
There were, but Texas is also focused on, maybe just because it's just so big. I don't know, but it's big geographically. I know it's big population wise, but I think it's big in terms of it's not plainly Democrat or Republican. Like it's got a pretty
it's hard to say. And the bottom one with what you were saying, I don't know, but it looks more what something normal would look like. The top one looks like a machine made it. It looks it's crazy.
Oh, I get you. There's more variation. Like, no argument there. There's more variation. But when you think like normal should be basically cut out almost all these lines that are negative.
Yeah, that's what I want to. Did you ask Nate about that? Did he say that? Did Nate say that?
We did not. Our discussion lasted for more than 2 hours, so I can't recall if we got to drop-off rates. Mostly we were focusing on data like this, these graphs, the scatter plot graphs. So
I feel like because it would make sense if somebody got like 8% more of the vote than they got in the last election. It would make sense that then Trump or whomever else would have gotten less votes, because it's compared to the last election before that, right? That's where it goes up 5%.
No, like this is 2024 and this is 2016, but these lines, I gotta make sure this is 2024, this is 2016, but this line, like this one line I'm focusing on right now, that's about like 12% more votes for Clinton than Strickland, which was the Democratic Senate candidate. That's what this is saying for the same election.
So the red one is not Trump. The red one going down is not Trump.
It is Trump for that same election.
So
but in this case, it's saying Trump got fewer votes than the votes for Portman, which was the senator for Ohio in 2016. So he got fewer votes, she got more, and that mathematically makes perfect sense. If you're switching, if you're ballot switching, if you're switching votes from one ballot to another, then it makes sense. But in normal circumstances, all these lines should be positive. Like maybe a smidgen here and there, like ultra small smidgen that would be negative here and there. Who knows? But normal is 1 to 3% more for the presidential candidate. That's normal. So even this, like it's not normal. It's not normal.
A little more. Yeah.
Like it's just, there's no way around it. Normal.
The 2024 is just blatant. It's very obvious.
Yes.
It means she did worse than the Senate in every single county. That doesn't make any sense.
And it's not like, oh, well, that just happened in Ohio. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Here's another one.
I want to look at a non-swing state.
Yeah.
Is that Texas?
Yeah, that's Texas. That's Texas. And again, you see my concern here where I keep going back to like, I think that Democrats were doing it too. Here, some tall boys, definitely tall boys for the Republicans, and there's mirroring, but there's also it's like the Democrats were doing it, but they're just not as good at it. You see the mirroring, and these are getting up there. They're like 4%. So it's just a little bit outside the parameters of normal, but at the same time, the mirroring into the negatives for the Republican candidate suggests that a vote was taken from the Republican candidate and given to the Democratic candidate in 2020. So where you see this mirroring, that is a red flag. And where you see it popping out of, like if it's below, say, this 2% or even 3%, fair enough. That's normal. But popping above it and then seeing all this negative stuff, sorry, it's not normal.
I'm going to look at the Common
Not
Coalition.
normal.
I need to really, because I'm still I'm like a little confused on you can obviously see the main difference between 2024 and 2020, but I want to see what 2020 means, because I guess I was looking at them wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it took a while. I haven't confirmed with Nathan that I'm reading this right, and that my explanation about the switching is right. But my understanding is when you see, here's maybe a good example, where you see a tall line and that's about twice as tall as this blue line is on the opposite side. That suggests to me that Kamala Harris lost a certain absolute number of votes and they were moved over to Trump. But she actually had more votes. And that's why this, let's say they moved 50 votes over. It only represented less than 4% of her total votes, but it represented more than 6% for his total votes. Because that certain absolute number of votes that were given to him represented an even bigger percentage of his small number of votes. And so that's what you're seeing when you've got, I don't know if we can see this line I think we can, maybe, on the presentation. That's what we're seeing when we see a really tall red line above a tall but significantly shorter blue line going in the opposite direction. I believe that is an absolute number of votes that were moved over to Trump. And it just represented like a much bigger percentage of his votes than it did of Kamala Harris's total votes. It's just math. Hey, any last thoughts on that? And then, and any comments from, I know you're keeping your eye on TikTok. Any comments from the crowd on TikTok?
Yeah, people saying Carmela just said she won. I can't wait to dance in the streets for a week. But I don't know if we're
dancing with you.
Yeah.
I will be dancing with you, my friend.
That would be great. I just don't. I'm definitely not that optimistic.
I wish. Not either. I don't know how we get out of this, but
I don't see how they can remove them.
The first step is recounts.
That's what's happening in Rockland County. I'm nervous about Rockland County because it's New York State. Mm-hmm. I'm nervous that that it's just like some weird thing. I don't know. I heard something that there was
the drop-off rates are ridiculous there. And they have so many sworn affidavits of people saying, like, from different precincts. This, again, I can use my shirt as a quick visual. There are certain little precincts, and some of these, I got to figure out some of these smaller ones, some of these smaller precincts, they just have like 50 people, 100 people, 80 people in them. And some of those precincts reported, like in Rockland County, nobody voted for Kamala Harris. No, nobody did. And so some people in those precincts were like, well, wait a minute. I live in that precinct. I voted for Kamala Harris. And a bunch of those people have come forward and signed sworn affidavits. It's considered, evidence in a court of law. Witness testimony.
It would explain why he's moving so fast with the militarization.
Yes, I absolutely think so. I thought of putting up, maybe I could get it. Let me see how quickly could I go to Instagram and play a little something for you that I just I just passed on. Where can I see my? Okay. Well, no, I did. Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. It's all right. So let me see. I don't know. I'll see if I can bring this over here. Forgive me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm kind of new to this. I'm going to go to screen share. We're going to go to Instagram. Share that. Let me know, ladies and gentlemen, if you can see this.
Yeah, it's popped up. We got a little bit of delay, but now it's.
Oh,
yeah, I
I
see
need
it.
Create a masked police force. Get people used to looking at that. Normalize snatching people off the street. Get them used to that. Normalize seeing the National Guard and the military on the street. Then start talking about crime in the capital, which is basically, has always been a fairly crime-ridden city. This is our nation's capital where elections are decided. And then because the crime is so bad, have other states start sending their troops. Not just the National Guard there in D.C., but now at least 6 other states are sending their troops, which then Trump can then federalize. So you're having many states' troops on the ground there, and now they're under federal control. So you have in the capital a sort of permanent police presence. So when an election dispute might come up, just hypothetically. I mean, I don't want to be a big pessimist, and I'm going to pretend for the rest of the duration that the Democrats do have a chance of winning, and they might win the next election. I just don't think they're ever going to take power, because this is what's going to happen. Because I think this coup is going to go off a lot smoother than the last one. There was a slow-moving coup.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Steps, and you tell me if I'm being paranoid. First,
Gotta
create a
figure out how
masked
to do
police
things
force.
here. Okay, first I'm gonna turn that volume off. Stop that. So, yeah, totally agree with you.
It just
Totally
looks
agree
so
with you.
bad.
That's why he's militarizing Washington. I mean,
And that's why I don't think there's anybody in the background doing things, because who would be doing anything? It's pathetic.
I think, I mean, if I have hope, it's because America is like one of the world's great democracies. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be this beacon of democracy. So the power is in the people. And if the people start to realize what happened, then maybe even MAGA would just say, we're not going to win this one, boys. We're not going to win this one. Like, do we really want to go to like a civil war or something? I think we just have to bow out. They know the jig is up. The jig is up.
It's not going to be up to them, though. It's going to be up to whoever controls the military.
Yeah.
Like
well, on that note, then, remember that parade. Remember that ridiculous parade. I've got videos I could show you. They look pretty funny. And on the same day as the parade on Trump's birthday, there were millions of people taking to the streets in No Kings protests.
Yeah.
And do you remember
so many more people?
Yeah. Do you remember how the soldiers were marching in that parade? Like, they refused to march. They were just kind of shuffling along.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Trump got rid of a whole bunch of generals, like within the first week or two of his call it an administration. I'll call it, in my more generous moments, my more gracious moments, like a term, in his second term. I think of this as a regime. Sorry, I think it's a regime. And when you start out your second term by pardoning 1,500 criminals, convicted criminals, many convicted by Republican appointed judges, because they supported me, so they get a free pass. That sends a very clear message. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a regime. If you're on my side, you're good. If you're not,
look at the 2 Minnesota representatives that were assassinated. Yeah. And he didn't even go to the funeral. He didn't even talk about it.
Yep.
Like, what does that say to another crazy person who wants to do something just like that? It basically says, go for it. You probably will be pardoned down the line.
Yeah. By him not going to the funeral because they were Democrats. That's my understanding. Let me know if I'm wrong.
No, that's why.
Because they were Democrats, that also sends a very clear signal. Like, Democrats aren't worth anything. You can do what you want to them.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. So, but something that we need to point out though today on this, something that happened today. Let's see if I can get it up here. Is some judges, nonetheless, we do have some judges pushing back. There we go. Here we go. I don't know how well this will share on the screen. That doesn't look too bad. Trump appointed judge throws out rare DOJ lawsuit against jurists. By the way, that just that's fancy language for a judge over deportations. So basically, a judge has ruled that the Justice Department didn't bring an appropriate challenge by suing judges. No kidding. He said, actually, it might have been, I'm not sure who this judge was. It might have been a lady judge. But
I think it was, Trump appointed. It was a guy, I think.
It was a guy? Okay.
Yeah.
Trump appointed judge, administration. Sorry, I don't want to mess around with this too much so that you can't see it. But that judge said, buddy, if you don't like the ruling of a court, you appeal it. That's what you do. Like, that's what you do. You don't like, I'm going to sue you. I don't like that ruling. I'm going to sue you. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Even the judge said he made a long, I read that he made like a long, scathing opinion about Trump and everything he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that. I absolutely love that. And thankfully it was a Republican judge. So now Trump can't turn around and go, oh, these left-wing, radical left-wing lunatic judges, we got to get them out. It's a Republican appointed judge. So we've seen some capitulation on behalf of the Trump regime to court orders. And in other cases, they just ignore them. So we'll see what happens here. I mean, obviously there's a difference between losing a case where the Trump administration, whatever, is asking the courts to do something. Then the courts can turn around and go, no, we're not going to do that. It's another case when the Trump regime itself is doing something like snatching people off the streets and sending them to El Salvador. That's another
Uganda.
thing. Yeah, that's another thing when now the courts say, hey, stop doing that.
And then they just do it anyway.
They're like, yeah, come make me. You can feel free
It's
to
getting
pick up your gavel, and you can chase after us and try to stop us if you want. But they're basically they're testing the limits right from day one. They were like, let's see what we can get away with.
Yeah, and they're doing it right away because there's 4 years left. They want it to be so that when the midterms come, nothing will be able to happen. The midterms are for another year. Like, can you imagine what it's going to be like in another year?
Well, as Nathan Taylor, though, from the Election Truth Alliance was pointing out, he's like, in midterms, we're going to be using this same equipment.
I know, it's crazy.
So, really, what are the chances that it's not going to go the way that the Republicans want? I can't see it. I think they have total control. They, another kind of funny thing, apart from the fact that Donald Trump only won 49.8% of the popular vote.
Yeah.
And yet
swept
every swing state.
That doesn't happen.
And as a consequence of what we were looking at here, let me just very quickly.
Yeah, my phone is about to die.
Yeah,
I actually have to
we will.
stop.
We will.
I got to get one of those adapters.
Yes. We will have to stop soon, ladies and gentlemen, let you get back to your day and so on. But when you see this kind of algorithmic thing going on here across every single county, right? What that means is there's no way that any county could flip to Democrat, could go from Republican to Democratic. That's impossible with this kind of blitzkrieg approach to ballot rigging.
Yeah.
So in this election, again, Trump only won 49.8% of the popular vote. And yet not a single county flipped in favor of the Democrats.
Doesn't make sense.
Even with Ronald Reagan. He won.
This is what is telling, like, Kamala, like, I just don't get it, man. Like, I feel like she should be helping with the audits. She should be pushing with this. I don't think that she's necessarily, I don't think that she's being blackmailed as much as she thinks that it would look bad. I don't know. I can't understand it.
I used to think that. I used to think, oh, they just don't want to look like them. They don't want to look like them. They don't want to look silly. But when you think about everything that's at stake here, I think you'd wrestle with that for a day or two, and then you'd put on your big boy pants and say, you know what? This is more important than how I look. I have to fight for the people.
That's what I thought too. I
have to
just
fight.
Can't understand it.
I just think she can't. For some reason, she just can't. I don't know what that reason is.
Yeah.
Keep following along, ladies and gentlemen, and hopefully together we will discover what the heck is going on here. Clearly, this election was rigged. Clearly, the Democrats didn't do anything about it. Did they not know? I doubt it. Both Prōmyth and I think, they knew. They had to know. But we're at odds in terms of trying to figure out, why didn't she do anything? Why didn't the Democrats do anything? They had plenty of opportunity. They had a couple of months where they could have done recounts, investigations, arrested a bunch of people, and called for a new election. Just like, what was that country that did that in Europe?
It was
like Hungary or Romania or some, I don't know,
I can't remember. Yeah, one country did that because they found voter manipulation.
Yeah, and they're like, you know what? Screw this election. Let's do it again. So, ladies and gentlemen, stick with us. Hey, subscribe to Prōmyth. You'll find him on TikTok and Instagram. What's your handle on Instagram?
I don't know. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
Well, look for him. I think if you look, because I found you by just looking for Prōmyth.
I think it's Prōmyth. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so check him out make sure you follow him on Instagram and TikTok. And, hey, I'd appreciate a follow as well. But we will see you in the next live stream. Who knows when that'll be? We'll be on tomorrow night on TikTok at the very least, with Brandy starting at 8 p.m. So we'll see you then. Thank you so much for joining us today. And please, share your thoughts in the comments. I'm going to read them after. A bit tough to read them during the live streams. So thank you so much. I wish you all a fine evening, and I will see you in the next one.
That's cool.
Right?